You been finished?
Oh, and we are back. Sorry, what did you just ask?
Oh, sorry about that. I was gonna say, how long you been finishing?
Um, like full-time finishing about, I don't know, 2 years maybe.
Uh,
Yeah, so I've been doing drywall for like 15 years, something like
okay.
that. And in the beginning, I would do side jobs. So I'm a like a master carpenter. So I would frame all my own stuff and then I would board it, which was super easy, and then I would tape it, which was super easy. There wasn't big humps all over everything. I crown everything. You can put a 6 foot level across my walls. There's no issues.
Okay.
Um, and then I started taking on taping work and not doing the rest of it, and I almost quit immediately
Oh wow.
because it was brutal, right? And nobody ever taught me. I was taught how to frame. I was taught how to board,
Mm-hmm.
and when it came to finishing, I was just figuring it out on my own. So typically, what that meant was caking it on the wall and sanding it off until I thought it was perfect, which it
Yeah.
was. But I mean, that's a hell of a process.
Yeah, it's a long,
Um,
tough curve.
yeah, I mean, 2 years is kind of hard to say. Maybe 2 years on the tools, like on the auto
Yeah.
tools. But yeah, I've been doing it on and off for a long
Oh
time.
yeah.
Yeah, the auto tools, I would say maybe 2 years, year and a half collectively, something like that. I'm a
Mhm.
pretty quick learner when it comes to that stuff. And I think like I got right in with Columbia and their stuff's super easy to use. It's
Yeah.
it's more of, at least in my opinion, you figure out your mud consistency.
Hmm.
You can run all your tools, and then once you get comfortable running the tools with good mud, then it turns into how do I stop sanding?
Yep.
And that's kind of where I am now, where I'll put a trowel against the wall and go, where should my box be run? It doesn't have to be center every time. You're trying to make that flat.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so it's just little stuff like that. Did when you were doing it, were you pre-sanding in between?
So commercially, we would and we wouldn't. So I had two or three different guys I learned from. Like on butt joints, I had a guy that taught me a striping technique. So he would run a 12-inch box. He didn't use the 10 at all. He would run it wide open down the center, split the tape, and run a 12 wide open, and then skip over just, almost so you're not hitting the wheel on the mud. Run another full 12-inch open stripe, then let that dry, come back, cap those centers off, and then pull a tight hand trowel. And they were the best. I've always done butt joints that way. If I'm going to run it with a box, I do
Hmm.
it that way. And they turn out flat as snot. I mean, they're just sick, like flat, commercially, but it's a little bit of like, hey, it's big and wide. But if your box is set right, it's not that bad sanding,
Hmm.
unless you're leaving big, heavy edges. So, but yeah, I don't like sanding in between because I feel like it rolls the mud, especially if you're going back with a box again. It kind of wants to roll, and you'll get Christmas trees, or you get that pocking,
Hmm.
and pocking bugs the heck out of me. It's like people that when you get bubbles on mud, I like to burnish it down, or I'll spray it down a little with water if they're not too big of bubbles, and you can lay those bubbles back down that way, because if you sand bubbles off, it just sucks the dust back in. When you recoat it, it
Yeah.
rebubbles. And it's like they're like, put dish soap in it, do this. It's trial and error. And I know what works for me. And that's like you said, those Facebook groups will tear you up. Why are you doing that? Well, it works for me.
Yeah.
I have my way. I'm not going to judge you on your way. If you're on my job, I might ask you to do it my way, but everybody's going to finish differently.
Well, yeah, if I'm paying you to do something, you're going to do it the way I tell you to do
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a humble person to say stuff like that, where it's like, I'm not going to bother you about your stuff. Just don't bother me about mine. If people have a question, it's totally different. Um, but that like communication, there has to have been like a moment in time where this all changed. But I felt like kind of everybody was everybody else's competition for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and now there's so much work out there that we're not each other's competition. If your uh, skill set isn't making you separate from the crowd, and
Mhm.
and you get up into that kind of a echelon or whatever you would call it. All the other people sitting at that table want everybody to do good.
Yeah.
Like um trying to think of what the quote was, but it's like a successful person doesn't talk shit is basically it, right? It's it's I don't know, it's a good feeling. Like Nathan's Drywall's up here and
Mhm.
we got along right away.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, maybe we'll do some work in the future or whatever, but I would never look at a guy like that as my competition.
Yeah.
It's just, he's a great guy. He's a good finisher.
Yeah.
When the thing that bothers me about kind of what I would say other finishers or your competition is
Mhm.
when they walk away from a site and it's not up to your standards and they
Mhm.
still charge your price.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't know. There should be some sort of a rating system. I don't know how you even begin to implement that. Royce from the three-way was talking about way back when the banks used to come in and do checks on finish.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So your corner beads are not hollow. They'll come in and
Mhm.
check, and your butts are this big and your bands are this big. And it was probably all very quick. Because I can't imagine they all really knew what they were looking for. But
Yeah.
there was quality checks, and there just isn't anymore.
Mm.
I ran major sites for a year last year. Um, I felt like it was the right thing to do at the time. Like we had lost our ass on a couple of sites, and it was like it just started not being fun anymore. And so a headhunter called me, and it was like a six-figure position, and it was only 6 to 2, so I would still have time to do my stuff after work. And he
Mhm.
understood that it was kind of perfect, but sitting around a site watching guys fuck things up all day is like not good for you.
Yeah. No. I
And
I agree with you because I was a superintendent for like 7 years.
yeah,
And
okay, see,
I ran general GC jobs, and then I got to where I was running a couple drywall crews too on when I was working for just a drywall contractor.
yeah,
And the amount of stuff I saw, the babysitting, full grown men like acting like little boys. I don't like him. I'm not working with him. Blah, blah. Oh my gosh, the drama. I was just pulling my hair out. I was like, I'm gonna die young because of this stupid job. And I was on
yeah.
salary. And I couldn't handle it. I was making good money. I was just like, this is BS.
I feel like that's what most of that money is for, because the job itself isn't hard. Like a set of prints is finite. You're going to be there for 4 months. It's like a book you need to read a couple of times and then you know it inside out. Um, it's the, oh well, if Johnny's going to be here and he and I don't, oh, he better not even, you know, all this other kind of crap. And if that started on my sites, I would go, listen, if there's anything stopping you from being here and doing your job, you need to go away.
Yeah.
Like you just need to not come, because I'm not doing this with you guys. It's it's a little crazy, right?
Yeah.
And my voice is killing me.
I was gonna say, what are you gonna do for your cold, man? Or
It wasn't a cold. This might be too much information, but it was like food poisoning. So
Mm,
that is from vomiting.
wow.
Yeah.
Acid,
It-
acid.
yeah,
Ooh.
it's literally bile.
No,
Yeah,
I've had bad acid reflux. I know what you're talking about because it's just burns the hell out of your throat.
oh, it's just terrible. I
Oh,
I can't remember a time that I was that sick.
sorry.
It's like
What'd you eat? Was it worth it?
I don't even know. So Monday at work, one of the guys went to like a Zares or whatever to a hot meat counter, and it was
Okay.
like macaroni and potatoes and roast beef. So it wasn't anything crazy. And then
Yeah.
at night, I came home and had fucking craft dinner. I had like a craving for some reason. Sometimes I'll see stuff on like TikTok or like, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, I want some craft dinner. And then I woke up in the morning and it was just like constant, like once an hour for like a day and a half.
Ugh.
It was rough, man.
Yeah.
I ended up calling my mom last night. I was like, how do you know when you're too dehydrated? She's like, you pinch your skin, and if it doesn't go back, you're starting to get there, right? So, and it wasn't liquid IV. I don't know if you've ever had that. It's really good.
Huh.
Oh, here, there it is. There, liquid IV.
Oh, okay. That's Costco carries that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. This is actually pina colada. So I went from like drinking nothing to having sips of that, and I was like, this isn't so bad.
I just figure a 12 pack of beer has a lot of liquid in it, so that works
I-
too, right?
Usually that is my go-to, where I'm like,
Uh,
this will straighten me out. And if not, you're at least having fun with it, right? So
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that was bad. My bad. No, alcohol's bad, kids.
yeah, yeah, don't drink.
Yeah,
Um, you were talking about fishing before.
yeah.
So what kind of talk to me more about that?
So Colorado, it was like I was getting into fly fishing, really loved it. And
Nice.
moving out to SoCal, I'm 15 minutes away from the coast now. So now I'm saltwater fishing, and that's a whole
Ooh.
different beast. And we're talking big fish. We're talking halibuts, sea bass, all that kind of stuff, groupers. So I just need to find a buddy with a boat.
Yeah.
I've gone out on the tours; those are okay, but I just need to find more about personal. Like, hey, let's go out on the boat. I'll buy the gas, do whatever it takes, and go that route. So, but I love it. I love because I like to eat it. That stuff's awesome.
Oh, it's probably yes, and right from the ocean like that. Yeah,
Yeah, I love sushi. So if I can cut that up and throw that on sushi, it's like, yep.
we're all
In
set
fact, I'm
up.
addicted to sushi. I used to hate that stuff as a kid. Now I can't get enough of it. Now it's like I could eat hundreds of dollars of freaking sushi.
Oh man. So I don't eat any seafood. I've got I've had fish tanks my whole life, and I let one get super gross, and I was cleaning the tank, and then I'd some of the shit kicked up into my mouth, and that is what my brain fires when I taste fish. And it's ruined everything. And I mean, I continue to try. The first year of my business, my cousin came and saved my ass. I was building a deck 3 hours away,
Mhm.
and it just kept getting, they kept asking for more and more and more. And it was like the deadline never moved. So he came out, he wore a Captain America shield on the back of his harness. Like he came out and it was a superhero. So
Yeah.
we went to the keg that night, and I just said, order whatever you want. And he goes, you need to really try the lobster. He knows full well that I don't do that stuff, right? So I tried it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just not really for me. And he reaches over and oh, I'll do that for you, no problem. And I was like, you son of a bitch. That's
Set
it.
you up.
That's exactly what it was.
He's
At
like, yeah,
least
I'll take that tail.
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Now
What about fried fish or fried shrimp, or you can't do the deep fried either?
no,
Wow.
and I mean I do, and I'll get a couple pieces into it for sure. I make real good coconut shrimp, like homemade. You
Mm.
batter it up, coconut up, and do it. My mom likes scallops. I do that. I'm good at cooking everything, and if I do, I obviously try it. We used to do perch, like you batter it up, and
Mhm.
same thing. I'll get a couple pieces in, and
Hmm.
it's not really my thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know why, but when I go to get sushi, they've got like avocado and yam and like a million
Mm.
different things. So I'll eat that stuff until I'm like physically uncomfortable. And then
Yeah.
I'll come home and have a sushi coma, is what I call them. It's like a nice little nap. The first time that I was at a place where you paid per roll, or
Mm.
like paid per whatever, I usually do all you can eat. Yeah, it was like $100. I was like, holy shit. But which then kind of makes you wonder how the hell these people are making any money, because you got a guy like me coming in just like devouring.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
could do that too. I just lay them flat. Just
yeah. Oh yeah. You also there for your birthday you went golfing.
the what?
For your birthday you went golfing.
Oh yeah. So my girlfriend got me a golf pass the year
Yeah.
before, and she keeps renewing it, but it's the JC golf pass. And I picked up golf when I turned 50. So I
Oh.
started playing Call of Duty online, and I was playing with a couple guys around here in San Diego online. And then one day my buddy Tom's like, "Hey, do you golf?" I'm like, "No," and I'm no, I caddied when I was a kid, and I've golfed like twice.
Yeah.
When and he's like, "Well, you want to go with us?" And I was like, Okay, sure. I'm like, this is gonna be a big joke. I actually loved it. Did pretty damn good for my first time, and now I'm
Hmm.
addicted to it. Now I wish I could go out like once or twice a week, except it's expensive.
It is a little expensive. My dad goes like twice a week. When he retired, that was his deal.
His jam. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to golf once or twice a week every week in the summer, and that's going to kind of be my thing. And he's a part of this. It's almost like an email chain, and
Okay.
they'll send you. It also gets you going to different courses where you come
Discount.
here and then you get it exactly. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I'm terrible for that. I'll bring up stuff on the podcast and not remember what it is for reference, and it's like that everyone's going. Really wish he had his shit together
Uh,
so I could do that.
but do you golf? Do you like golfing?
I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. A couple of years back, I ended up going maybe a couple of times a month, and then just work picked up.
Mhm.
I got a new set of clubs. A buddy of mine is on like a Facebook group for golfers, and it's like you throw in $50 and there's like a new putter that's not out yet or whatever.
Oh,
And
okay.
in the last 2 years, he's won like a whole new set, new driver, new putter. He's won a bunch of day passes, things like that. So he's cleaning out his garage, and mine were like a real old kicked in set. Like it was just like,
Wait till you hear about my set. Keep going.
okay. And and so he ended up giving me the set for like $500 or something.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think they're Callaways. So it's yeah, I'm excited to use. I haven't used them yet though. It's and now Nathan's Drywall again. I'll shout him out again. He's picked up a hole on a charity course on the 6th.
Mhm.
So we're doing that, and I'm gonna go out with him. He just got a fuck shitload of stickers made. So we're gonna just plaster this place in his stickers. He's like, and then well, I'm sure we'll have to come back the next day to take them all down.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, all right. So tell me about your set.
So my set back when I lived in Colorado, the poor neighbor guy died, and his
Mm.
wife gave me his set. So I have dead man clubs. So, and don't know if they fit me. I've never went to get adjusted and sized, and but I do okay with them.
Yeah.
So that's still I bought a couple new clubs out of over the last 2 years. Like I got a used driver. I didn't buy a new one. The only thing I got new were my wedges and a putter because
Mm,
he just had that old square blade putter, and I was like, yeah, I want something a
yeah.
little fancier than that. So, but yeah, I'm due for getting sized and stuff, and that's part of that JC club that my girlfriend got me. Is I can go in, which I just got to find the time. Got to quit working.
Yes.
I can go in and get free sizing. I get free lessons on a couple of these courses, and I just got to take the time to go do that stuff because you know what, guys, drywall isn't the only thing in life. There's more to life than drywall.
Believe
That's
it or not, I
all
have
I have.
heard that. Yeah.
But
But
it's like the jobs, like literally today, all I've been doing on my phone is I've just been getting bombed with patches. So the way I take jobs nowadays is I'm like, send me a picture, send me a video clip, and I don't even drive to jobs unless it's a bigger job and it's like I got to really look at details. I do it all virtual.
yeah, good
Save
for you.
time, gas, money. I mean, it works for me. And it's probably because I got a lot of good reviews, but some of the older people kind of want you there. So those are the ones I'll cater to a little more. And like, yeah, I'll come out if it's close, but I won't go driving hour and a half, 2 hours out of my way to go look at a job. I'm like, send me a picture. I've seen 5,000 patches.
And I mean, you've got to get into something pretty crazy that you haven't seen before. I
Yeah,
would
which is
assume,
rare.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
rare. Like some weird texture, and like that's why I like my mentors group.
Hmm.
If you don't know, you can ask. Like Ray Anderson, the drywall doctor. I was
Hmm.
all privileged to have him. I like that old guy. He's a good old. He knows a lot. Now, is his way the perfect way? Maybe not for everybody, but I watched his videos way back in the day, and I've learned a few tips and tricks, like the old swirl from like the 40s to 50s house. It's kind of they just swirl it and smash it on the wall. He's
Yeah.
like, stuff some rags in a plastic bag and just wiggle it around. And sure enough, man, I patched in a patch and it looked great. I was like, damn, okay, thanks, Rick. So that's and I'm what I call a forever learner.
Yeah.
Like my way isn't the only way. If you have something you can show me, Sean, I'll be like, yeah, let's go do it.
Hmm.
Richard, Ice Rock, I like the way he uses fiberfuse. He kind of got me into fiberfuse. I can't get enough of fiberfuse. The big rolls, I love that stuff.
So one of my favorite things that he ever showed me about the fiber fuse, you know, when you've got like a light switch right on your bevel.
Mhm.
So he cuts it down to like an 8x8 piece,
Yep, it
goes
just
and it goes right over it. Yeah, and you poke a little
cuts it
hole.
out after.
I was like, you can't do that. He's like, you most certainly can, right? It's
It
yeah,
comes out clean, nice and clean.
yeah. Yeah, I've been very fortunate to meet a handful of people. Like I've been fortunate to meet everyone, but I
Mhm.
mean, there are a handful of people that I was like, this is insane. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how how you did it without them before. Not like they're giving you advice that you're using every day, but it's just stuff like after 15 years, right? I'm like, I've pretty well got my head wrapped around this stuff.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then our first conversation that we had on FaceTime, I think was for 2.5 hours. And I walked away from that like I don't know anything about drywall. Yeah, the all the glues and all the different things that he uses. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it's like I've used mesh tape for years. I don't know what your take is. I maybe I've heard it or not, but I'm like, as long as you use hot mud with mesh
Yeah.
tape, it's usually gonna hold up. I've never gone on a callback, even commercial jobs. We never had callbacks, and we that was all stand ups. We'd mesh tape it, hot mud it, and it was fine. But the
Yeah.
guys that use regular mud on that, and there's movement, it's not the regular mud's not as strong, and they get the cracks, the hairline cracks, and then they're like mesh tape source. No, it's not. It was made to be used with quickset, you know.
Yeah, and
So
I the more I sit back and kind of see what's going on with the community, a lot of the people out there kind of bashing products aren't using them properly.
uh-uh.
It's I think that mesh tape isn't that from the UK and they were using hot mud with it. Like that's what it was for.
Yeah.
But in Home Depot, it's sitting right beside the other tape and it's sticky, so it's way easier to put on,
Oh
you
yeah, it
know. But
sticks on the wall, it stays in place. Hey, this is easy.
yeah, yeah. But if you're not using it correctly, of course it's gonna be a
Yeah.
fucking mess, right? Yeah.
How many jobs have I gone to where the homeowner started taping with paper tape and there's a million blisters behind it because they didn't put enough mud?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I already know in my head, I'm already like screaming, like, oh my God, as soon as I put a first coat, it's gonna blister. And I try and tell the homeowners, this is why I'm gonna charge you this because I already know I can see the blisters most of the time if I go see it in person too. I'm like, that's gonna pop, that's gonna pop, that's gonna pop. And they're like, no, no. I'm like, watch, cut it out. Hey, see no mud behind the tape. So
Um, one of my favorite, I almost called it a karma site because I knew that I needed more work on my butt joints with the machines.
mhm.
Um, and I go into this guy's site. The entirety of his basement are 4x4 sheets. So I was like, what happened here? And he's like, well, the guy couldn't get the 8-foot sheets downstairs, which you totally could have. I totally could have.
Yeah.
So he cut them all into those pieces, but then railroaded every single one. And then uh, my guess is he super taped it. So I went through, I quoted it for the guy, and I said, "This is what we're gonna do. I think all this has to come down, but that's gonna take a lot of time. So I'm gonna break down my quote into days, like X amount per day. I think it should take 6 days, let's say. And I said, I'll keep coming back if you keep paying me that at the end of every day. And
Yeah.
and when I did my first box run, like half of the tapes fell off. And I brought him down and I showed him and I'm like, I hate that this is happening and I am gonna do a good job here, but like this is fucked,
Ooh,
man. He was a super cool guy though. And I think it was a friend of a friend and that kind of a situation. So
yeah.
I was like, I don't know if you can get this guy back. But and he's like, he's gone with the wind,
Yeah.
right? Which is
Most of them are.
yeah,
They're
and
fly by nights. Those bad contractors are bad people. Yeah.
I've
Which
had
is
that
sad.
I've had that conversation with a few people when they're like, well, but then what do you do? Where do you get your work? Like you go 20 minutes down the road and start looking for work again, right? It's like a traveling circus.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But
There's always these moments where I'm like, I couldn't imagine not having integrity.
yeah.
And then I sit there for a second and go, but these guys must be making a lot of fucking money, but what's more important?
Mhm.
Your integrity or a little bit of money. And
I
I
don't know
think,
if they make a lot of money though, because a lot of them seem like they underbid themselves.
yeah, because that's how they're getting all the jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I can do it for X amount, and I get underbid. But I've actually had the clients call me back and go, hey, can you come back and fix this? I'm like, yeah, probably for my price, if not a little higher, because now I got to fix his mess.
Hmm.
And I'm like, sorry, this happened, but I'm not going to be cheaper than him. I already was hired to begin with because this wouldn't happen. You
Yeah,
know,
I I used to do like okay, where are you at now in the process, and let's figure out what that costs and this
Mhm.
and that, and then you just get burned every time. So I started just like what you said is my original quote is the quote.
Yep.
And if everything goes swimmingly, I'm not going to kill anybody, right? Like, but there's a good chance everything that that person behind you has done is fucked.
Can be squirrely.
Yeah. And it's just
And
it's
who eats it? You have to eat it because
that's
you're
it.
fixing
And
it on your time. And it's like, no, I didn't factor that in.
yeah. Yeah, typically, if I'm going in to fix somebody else's work, whether it be framing, whether it be structural, whatever, that's what I do. I give them a quote, we break it down to days, and I'll keep coming back if you keep paying.
Yeah.
And you'll help people out the best you can, but as a business owner, you can't really. That first year, I like was set in my ways to change the whole fucking world. uh you know what I mean, and we lost our ass on a bunch of sites, but I also never walked away from a site going I should have done better.
Yeah.
I was always happy with the work that I put out. I was always making sure the customer was happy.
Which is
But
the most important because
I
that's your reputation and your quality.
that's right. Now by the end of that year, we were turning down like 15 jobs a week. And I don't know if that's because they were like, this idiot works for free, or
But
or
did
if
you learn from your mistakes?
well, 100%, right?
Yeah.
And
So that's
and
the important thing.
yeah, In the Mud was on months ago. I don't think he's out next, but we talk about that. And I said, like, in that first year, you have to get kicked in the nuts a few times. And that is the time to do it, is then that because you don't want to be 4 years down the road still being kicked in the nuts. There's no way.
No. And that's where I struggle working for contractors because I feel like they squeeze your nuts to
Hmm.
get every penny out of you and get extras. And I'm like, I can't do it. I've worked for a handful since I've been independent now. And I'm just like, I don't want to do it. I'm sorry. I was in that position. I know what contractors expect and what they want you to do. I'm like, no, I don't need it. I'd rather have a homeowner that appreciates me as long as they're legit. And usually I can sniff them out pretty good.
Yeah.
I've had a few bad apples in the last, I've been in business self-employed 7 years now. So
7 years.
yeah, and I've loved every minute of it. And I've,
Hmm.
I've had a few struggles, but like once I got my Google and my Yelp reviews going, my phone just rings. I don't advertise except for like social media stuff, my Facebook, Instagram, and I use that as my advertisement. So when somebody's like, "Hey, I got a water damage patch, 2 foot flood cuts," I'm like, "Oh, watch this video. I just did one."
Hmm.
And they're like, "Wow, that's cool." Showing all the steps and processes.
I really like that about Instagram. Um I really feel like the posts on Instagram are effectively a resume.
Yeah,
The reels and stuff are fun. There's music and you make it look a certain way, but when you do a post, it's a resume piece, right?
totally.
Yeah.
It's showing you in like my videos because people always ask me, why do you do a live too? Because it's boring as heck, right? But a homeowner might want to see all those steps,
Mm.
you know. And I'm getting better at talking. I don't talk a lot in my videos just because they might be in the other wall or other room, working or whatnot. So I'm usually just quiet doing my thing. But they can go through and they can watch all the steps and go, oh, they can't come back and go, hey, you didn't insulate that wall. I can go, you want to bet? Watch the video. Oops, put insulation in that wall. you know, so it's a protection for me too. It teaches people, it helps them to educate them, like what are the steps. So I love Instagram, way better than Facebook.
Ugh, yeah, a little bit. The hair dryer on a stick, man. I gotta say, that's
I don't think I'm the original inventor of that, but I've been doing that for probably 15 years,
yeah.
honestly. Like when I was doing commercial patches, I was always carrying around a blow dryer. And then one day I had these zip pulls. I'm like, you know what? I got a ceiling patch and I want to go faster. So I was like, boom, up it went, little duct tape on there.
Yeah.
And I started with a heat gun, and
He-
that they are dangerous. If you're not paying attention to them, if they fall, hit something combustible, you can have a fire. So I was like, I lit a cabinet up one time, not things, but I could smell it starting to burn down by the
yeah.
baseboards and stuff. I was like, oh shit. And then one time somebody walked through, kicked my cord and kind of kicked it off to my plastic. I was like, I smell something burning because I was doing another patch. So I come running back and we're like, oh shit. Yeah. So no heat guns, guys. Heat guns are
No.
dangerous. Don't do them. Not worth it. Blow dryers, plenty good air, plenty good heat.
Yeah, and there's a lot of air movement in a hair dryer, right? You don't have to
I
have it
get
cranked up to full. Yeah.
get the one that's got the biggest, most amount of air that flows, and you're good to go. But I
Yeah.
love doing it. It's fun, you know. And I got dueling. As long as you got different circuits, I got two or three of them going at the same time sometimes. So
That's so smart.
that's how you
And
knock out a patch, man. Same day.
so are you doing like one do you do multiple sites in a day?
Used to.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Now, now I'll do multiple patches in the same house,
Okay.
but because of the way I operate, I like to schedule a job per day. And if it's a huge patch or a lot of patching, I'll put in a fluff day in there, and then that way I can say, well, I might be there tomorrow. I'll let you know at the end of the day, you know, if I didn't finish, if I can get you started earlier. But mostly I just do 1 to 7 patches in one house per day, and I just cycle them. So I'll schedule. That's how my schedule works. Um, and the reason being that I don't do multiples is I've had 2 or 3 clients that I couldn't make it to them. They're like, I took the day off for you. You didn't show up. I was like, oh, so you know, so I felt
Hmm.
bad. It doesn't make you look good. So I was like, sorry, I couldn't get off that other job. So don't overbook yourself or string yourself out, because that can come back and bite you too.
Yeah, that all kind of goes back to trying to be the nice guy or whatever, where, I'm just gonna try and make everything work all the time. And then like you said, it ends up biting you in the ass sometimes. And all the intentions are good.
Yeah.
Um, man, that first year, like I remember doing 16-hour days, like because you're just like, man, I said that I would, and I'm gonna,
Yeah.
but it's like, you're leaving their house at 11 o'clock or whatever.
I've I've skimmed jobs with 5 minute mud, like pan after pan, just skimming walls. And people think I'm crazy, but I'm like, that's the only way it's gonna dry. It's the only way I'm gonna get through this job. And it was craziness, but I've done it. And same with you. Those first couple of years I was working 12 to 16 hour days.
Hmm.
And I made good money, but it was tough.
Lots of stress. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it's better to enjoy life, you know. I hate saying no to the money. Like, oh, that's a $500,000 job or something. But it's like, but what's it worth to you? Like your reputation could get tarnished, and then money isn't everything. There's more to life than money. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like it because
Oh
it buys
yeah.
nice things, but you also can't take it with you. So
Yeah, I mean, if I had to sit down and write a big list out of all my favorite things, I don't think money would even be on there.
yeah.
Like if you had,
What's your favorite thing? What do you enjoy the most? Like
oh
hobby.
man,
What's your favorite hobby, Sean?
I don't even really have hobbies, man. I just work.
Do you
I,
like motorcycles? Do you like hiking?
um, so
Camping?
if I can be getting to the gym, I really enjoy that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I body built for a while. And then I got into a real bad car accident and
mhm.
she just demolished my back. Um, Spending time with my kids, man, is a big one.
That's
I,
huge because
I,
you
r-
won't get that back.
and then every once in a while, I'll have that feeling of like, man, I took a day to spend with her or whatever, and then you'll hear like a Jordan Peterson thing come across, and it's like spend as much time with your kids as you can because they're gone, right? It's so my
More
son,
friends and family
yeah, right.
thing.
My son's a teenager now. He's in private school and he's got a schedule about as busy as mine.
Wow.
So we have every other weekend, because anything more than that starts affecting the rest of his stuff, right? So at some point we were just like, do we want to be running around doing a bunch of shit, or do you just want my time to be your downtime?
Yeah,
And he was like, I would love that, because he has no downtime.
that's cool.
And now Sunday mornings he's got French tutoring, and then he's got he does Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh,
Uh
I loved that as a
yeah,
kid.
man, it's
That
super
stuff
cool.
is
Yeah.
so cool.
So we really realistically only get Saturday, but I mean, when we do nothing and we just play games or go to the movies or whatever, it's like you're just hanging out at that point, right? You've kind of done your due diligence. They're good. My daughter's still young, she's 5. So there's a lot of work to still do there. But yeah, spending time with the kids, man, I'm big on that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the gym's a big one too. And I keep telling myself, I'll get rid of something and I'll start going every day again, and it just something gets in the way.
I want
It's
to be there too. I would
yeah,
love to get back into the gym because before I got COVID, I was halfway okay. I
yeah.
didn't have my beer belly and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And in my shoulders, they felt good because I was lifting and getting, you know, stretched. But yeah,
It-
I'm getting a little, I need to hit the gym too. So I'm right there with you.
yeah, your joints end up, I feel like they feel way more lubricated, you're way more loose.
Mhm.
You obviously look better, feel better. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hanging
Uh,
drywall was a lot easier. I was a little more ripped. Like it was just like, okay, this is easy. Yeah, I'll just palm this and teach you. Now I'm like, oh God, that hurts.
yeah. Fucking who makes it so heavy? Yeah.
Yeah. When I just did a garage, that one garage was 3 layers of drywall up between the floor joist of the underlaying, ceiling. And that was all 5/8. And that kicked my butt
Oh
because it
shit.
was just small pieces, but I had to get 4 foot rips, try and fit them up in there between wires and fire suppression stuff. And it was just like, geez. And then the bottom layer, I used my drywall lift.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, hey, just crank this up there. But yeah, the things we do when we get old.
Okay, we got about 2 minutes here. Maybe we'll take another
Okay, so in
break.
this 2 minutes, is that Fresco Harmony behind you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was going to say,
Yeah. So
that looks like Nick's stuff.
yeah, so that's all Fresco Harmony. This was just going to be a black wall and with like a tight white over the top of it.
Mhm.
And Foz the carpenter and I started one on one half, one on the other. And when I
Okay.
got to where he wasn't pulling it as tight as I was. So we were like, well, what the fuck do we do now? So I kind of came back with the black again. And this is
Mhm.
what it oh yeah. I got tons of sample boards and stuff
Oh, it
too.
looks good. It's like a whole texture thing going on back there.
Yeah, like I see how far out I can put it here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's pretty wild. And like there's a bunch of stuff that you can like pull out of it. I really enjoy the fresco. Did Nick ever send you a sample pack?
He's always said to ask him for one and he'll send me
Yeah.
one, but I've never got one yet. So,
Oh, I think you'll love it. Are you coming back for another one, or what do you think?
ooh, what's that?
Another segment?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. All right, we'll
Okay.
be right back.